Hi everybody, it's Michelle at Knitting on the Side. Today is Tuesday, June the 16th, and I am coming to show you what I have been working on. On my new yarn projects, I have worked on my Anker Tee, but it was negative progress. I discovered that I had done too many increases and my stitch count was off, and so I had to frog. I put a new needle in and went down and then pulled out the needles that I was working with and just pulled it all out down to that point. So it took me a few hours of work because I didn't have my needle put in all on the same row. I had gone like down a row too far when I got partway around. So I ended up frogging a little bit more than I thought I needed to, but it took a little bit to get it all to where I'm on one row all the way around. So this is ready to move forward on it again. And it's going to go on hold for a while. We're going to be going out of town for a few days. I don't want to take that one with me, so it's going to be just hanging out, waiting. So we won't see any new progress on that one for a while. My other new yarn project is the Annecy Tee, and I am working on it. Actually just been putting some rounds on it this morning. You can't really tell a whole lot, but I did put quite a bit on it. I probably have added about this much since the last video, at least. So slow and steady progress. I like this yarn. It's very nice to work with. That one is going to go with me when we go on our road trip for a few days, so that one will get actual concentrated work. On my old stash yarn projects, the other day I pulled out a ball of, this is called Cotton Supreme Sequins. It's from Universal Yarns, and it's a excuse me, a worsted weight cotton yarn that has sequins on it. You can see the little shiny sequins in there. And I made a flower power bag with it. I did modify the pattern a little bit. It has you only going out to, I think it was 72 stitches, and I wanted it to be bigger around, so I went out until I had 120 stitches around, and then I started knitting the sides of it, because you start down here at the bottom. So then I just knitted the sides up until it looked like I was getting low enough on yarn to do the handles. And when I did the handles, I made them 30 stitches wide at the base, and I made one, and then I went around and I joined my yarn back in on the other side from the outside of the ball, and I started doing the other side. And you decrease until you get to where the skinnier part of the handle is, and then you just keep going. So I was working from the inside of the ball on one side and the outside of the ball on the other, and I just worked until I was running out of yarn, and then I grafted them together with a Kitchener stitch instead of doing a 3-needle bind off like the pattern called for. So doing it that way, I was able to use up all of the yarn. So I got an entire skein of yarn out of my stash. I might line this. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. It was really just a way to use up this yarn. I might line it, I might not, but that is Cotton Supreme Sequins. And that is a flower power bag, pretty modified. So that old stash yarn project it's going to go on the UFO shelf until I decide whether or not I want to line it. But the knitting part is done. Even the ends are woven in. It's done on that end. My other old stash yarn project is my raglan, and I started it yesterday. I opted to do the step-by-step cardigan from Florence Miller. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. And the options for the neckline that she gives are either a funnel neck, which is kind of like a mock turtleneck, or a folded crew neck style. Where I live, it's a little bit warm for either one of those, so I opted to just do a standard crew neck and not do folded. So I don't know, I'm going to have to see when I get this finished. Excuse me, I might need to put a little stabilizing stitch around there to keep it from stretching out too much, but I thought it might be a little less warm. And I did opt to do the German short rows to give the back neck more shaping. So, but since yesterday, that is how far I've gotten. It's progressing very quickly. I do like this yarn. This is Casablanca from Cascade Yarns. It's discontinued, so when I use this up, I won't have any more. But it was nice. So that's getting progress. Excuse me, gosh. I don't know what's wrong with me. But that is getting progress now. Scrap yarn projects. I was asked to make some slippers for somebody, and I pulled out a pretty old ball of Red Heart Super Saver that was left over from a project. And that color is Amethyst. And I made Pocketbook slippers. And they don't really look like slippers, but when you stick your foot in here and you put it on your foot, it stretches out and it looks like a Mary Jane style shoe. So they actually do look like slippers when you put them on your feet, but right now they just look weird. And this pattern is very simple to make. You start at the center of this little band and you do some knitting straight, and then you start increasing till you get right down here, and you do increases on every stitch. That way you'll have extra stitches to do the ribbing so that you get a lot of stretch there. And you just knit ribbing until you get around to the other side, and then you do decreases for the other side till you get down to the little strip and do a few rows there. The part that I don't like about these slippers is that then you have to sew the two ends together, and you have to sew the sides on both sides. I hate seaming, so that's kind of a pain in the rear end to me, but they're done. So I'm terrible at mattress stitch, so I just whip stitch them till I make it solid without holes. And it's not as pretty as it could be, but they're slippers, so they'll function. When I got done with these, and I still had plenty of purple yarn, I thought I'd make another pair of slippers that weren't quite so annoying to make. So I made a pair of these crochet, what are they called? Crochet ballerina slippers or something. The pattern is from Moogly. And you can do it in 2 colors, or you can do it in 1 color, depending on what you want to do. I started with the purple for the toe, and then I switched for the main color and used this Mainstays 100% acrylic yarn. It's a very similar consistency to the Red Heart Super Saver, so they work together really well. And I used the purple again for the ties on it. They are very simple. A pair of them only takes me a couple of hours. And so I thought I'd make these as a second pair to these for the same recipient. One year in my knitting and crochet group, somebody brought a whole bunch of yarn, and I got a bunch of it. So I think it was the next meeting or maybe the one after, we were getting close to Christmas. So I made slippers for everybody in my group. And then we were going to a family Christmas dinner, so I made slippers for all of the women at the dinner. I made a lot of slippers that year. I don't know how many pairs of these things I have made, but it's been a lot. It's a really simple pattern. If you crochet, give it a shot. And on to my sock yarn projects. My new project bag. I was going to do the lining and the straps on this bag in the same yarn or fabric. And then I decided that I did not want to sew that satiny fabric into long strips. And so I went stash diving looking for some ribbons or trims or something that would work as ties. And I picked out just this cotton twill trim. And I'm using it as ties in this bag. And it is working good. That makes my bag completely done. And it works really well as a sock project bag. And I do have my sock project in here. I showed you last time I was halfway done with this first sock, and it is of course finished now. And I have started the second one. I've gotten as far as I've turned the heel, and it is time to pick up stitches around and do the gusset decreases here, these little corner parts, and then do the foot and toe. It just so happened to work out perfectly that where I ended this sock and started this one, my pattern on the sock design lines up perfectly. That was a happy accident. I did not plan it. So I just happened to knit this just the right height and knit the foot just the right length so that when I started the second sock, it came out perfect. They are perfectly lined up. I was so thrilled about that. I wasn't going to try and do it, but it was pretty awesome when I realized that was happening. I was going to show you too on my little bag here. I showed you that little notions bag that I made. I used the I-cord, sewed it into the bag, and sewed it onto my little notions bag so that I can keep my supplies for my socks in here. So I have a little pair of folding scissors, a little bundle of some stitch markers, retractable tape measure, and then I have a little wooden needle case. Old sewing machine needles would come in a little wooden case like this, and if you buy like sewing boxes at a thrift store or something, a lot of times you'll find these in there. I always save them because they are handy as heck. And so I've got a few different sizes of needles in there for sewing in ends and stuff. And it fits nicely inside of my little notions bag. And then I've always got my notions handy inside of my sock bag, and I can't lose it all. So I think I'm pretty happy about that. I didn't really plan it from the beginning, but as I went along, it worked out pretty good. So that is my sock project. That will be going with me as we go out of town. I don't know how much I'll work on it. I'll probably work on the sweaters more, but oh well. And then I've also got some more yarn ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and take it with me just in case. I always take more yarn than I think I need. I'll pack more yarn than clothes. But these are left over from a pair of socks that I made myself last year. I had used just a little less than half of this one and just a little bit more than half of this one. And so I'll just make a pair of socks that are not quite as tall, and I will use these up. So I'll make another pair of socks and use scrap yarn. I pulled a couple of projects out of my UFO shelf the other day, and they just needed ends woven in. I got a grandma's favorite dishcloth, And then this one is a pattern by Pearl Soho. It's 10 sealing dishcloth or washcloth. So I've finished those up and they are done. My other UFO project that I've been planning to work on are my frost slippers, and I did block the tops as I told you last time, but I haven't done anything else with them, and I won't do anything else with them at least until we get back. So they are on hold. That covers everything that I've been working on this week, and this next few days as we're out of town, I'm going to work on my Annecy Tee, my step-by-step sweater, and my socks. That's what I'm taking with me. Well, I also have some scrap yarn in my bag that I might make some mittens with. Depends on my mood. I'm going to take it just in case because I'd rather have it with me and not use it than not have it and wish I had it. So always take more than I need. But that's what I'm planning so far to work on are the Annecy Tee, the step-by-step sweater, and the socks. So I guess I will talk to you guys later on, and you have a wonderful day. Bye.